You're watching Inside Automotive with Jim Fitzpatrick.
Are you finding it much more difficult to fill roles at your dealership today? Well, you're not alone. In fact, according to a recent report from Hireology, most have admitted to hiring someone, get this, who wasn't a fit simply to get the position filled. And I know I've been there myself. You got to fill the position. What are you going to do? You're going to take probably the best of the worst that comes in. So, what can be done? Well, on today's show, Adam Robinson, the CEO and co-founder of Hireology, joins us to share his recommendations and more data from this report. Adam, I have been there as a manager where the dealer says, I want 15 salespeople come hell or high water on this showroom floor on Monday, and we only have 10. And you're looking at applicants that just should not be given any job at all, let alone a sales representative at a dealership. But guess what? If you got a lot full of customers, you got to get somebody to hire them. And then, of course, your manager hat goes on and says, all right, well, at least if they can just greet someone, land them on a car, and then let the manager take the TO and work it from there, maybe we're better off. But this continues to happen over and over and over again. By the way, this scenario I'm telling you about, this story for me is like 25 years old, okay? Because I've not been running dealerships in 20 years. So it was happening then, it's even happening more now, right? Talk to us about that.
Yeah, I mean, the situation you described is common and also entirely avoidable. Yeah. I mean, the solution to avoiding the we're 5 short for Monday situation is to always be on top of this. Yep. Recruiting success is a function of proactivity and an intention to make it a core and critical business process, just like anything else.
Yeah, there's no question about it, and I agree with you on that. I would also say that dealers really need to take a look at having a full HR recruiter that's in the dealership, even if there's only 150 or 200 employees or what have you. All too often, I think they throw a lot of this on sales managers or service fixed ops directors or what have you to say, okay, you got to fill these spots, you got to get them out there. We've never been trained on really how to hire somebody or interview somebody properly in retail automotive. Maybe there's a class here or there that they've gone to, but not on a consistent basis. And we are certainly not out there doing it every single day looking for good people. Because as you know, if you're looking for someone out there, even though you don't have a hole to fill, you might find a gem to say, well, this person is a lot better than the weakest link we have right now. So guess what? We do have a hole to fill. And so for dealers that are listening, and see if you agree with me, Adam, on that somebody that is really designated to do nothing in that dealership but just recruit and hire new associates, kind of a full HR director. We don't see that typically in dealerships. They'll tell you that's a salary we can't afford or justify or what have you. But man, I think dealers make a big mistake in this area, don't you?
I do. And, one of the most encouraging trends I've seen, and this was, really, evident at NADA this year, is the number of dealerships, particularly in the mid-size group category, mm-hmm. those with 5 to 15, rooftops in their group, yeah, are increasingly making the investment in a dedicated recruiting or HR team. Yeah. If great. You've got 250 or more employees, yeah, you have to be dedicated to doing this. That's right. And the justification is really simple. Your headcount is a gross profit producing engine. Yeah. And if you're short sales folks or the service base short a couple of techs or you're short service writers, you're going to be you're paying an opportunity cost.
That's right.
Which is exacerbated then when you then try to go faster when you're under the gun and you make poor decisions, and then we get into this turnover issue. And so we are seeing dealerships, since you and I have been talking over the last, 7 or 8 years, yeah, the number of dealerships, particularly in the midsize category, that are making this investment, that see this very clear ROI, yeah, is growing. And we are increasingly talking to our customers, which are, 1 in 4 car dealers and, new franchise dealers in the United States, they're introducing us to their newly hired director of HR or their talent acquisition specialist.
That's great.
It's starting to happen. And I can tell you, those that are making the investment are seeing a huge return. You need dedicated, at least one dedicated resource. And you, of course, need the right tools for them to operate it. But I am seeing this trend.
Oh, that's good.
It's quickly becoming, a must-hire role for dealerships with any kind of scale.
That's right. I agree. And while a good one is probably six figures, it's the six figures that a dealer can, should just factor in there and say, this is going to pay me back tenfold at least. If we get the right person, in that position and constantly recruiting and hiring and doing the right job at it. Because as you know, so much of it is in the hiring process. Who's doing that? Who's conducting that interview? Who's looking for the certain skill sets that's needed? And all too often, if they don't have hireology, sales managers can kind of get off and over the guardrail and get into areas that just shouldn't be considered when hiring their next sales associate, right? Or, the next fixed ops associate. And that's
agreed. And according to the study we just published, the lack of quality talent, according to dealers, is the number one factor impacting their performance today.
I believe it.
It was inventory. It's not inventory anymore.
Right.
It's people. We're back to the long run, to the mean. It's reversion to the mean. We've got cars again. Now it's back to people.
That's
I
right.
mean, anyone could take an order over the last 24 months and, make a couple $100,000 a year taking orders for cars that nobody had. I mean, as we discussed a year ago, those days were limited. I think they're over.
That's right.
You're back to needing to field a team that knows how to sell and knows how to serve.
Yeah, I agree. Are you also seeing from your perspective this I shouldn't say influx, but this exodus of salespeople that are like, wait a minute, this isn't the sales department I signed up for in 2021. This is a lot more difficult. The commissions aren't what they were. I actually have to sell the car. Maybe I have to attend training. I didn't sign up for this. Do you see these people leaving the industry and therefore leaving these positions open for dealers?
It's certainly happening, but the reality is, Jim, the dealers are still doing well. Demand is there. Yeah. Right. While the we may not be selling cars for $10,000 over MSRP, and shooting free throws. It's harder. We have to sell, but we still need people. Right. And so you can still make great money, and the alternatives are still far worse. Right. Automotive retail sales professionals make on average close to 10% more than sales professionals in any other industry. And so it's still a quite lucrative profession. But it is a profession. You have to work at it.
That's right.
And so I haven't seen the pay related turnover, pop up in a way that's demonstrable, but I haven't either seen a waning of demand for cars and therefore a waning of demand for sales professionals. I mean, the demand far outstrips supply right now.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Hey, there's a term ghosting that has come up, and I thought ghosting was when you were trying to date somebody and you went on a date with them and they never called you back. Not that I've been on a date in a long time, but nevertheless, what is this? What's happening here with ghosting when it comes to hiring?
Yeah, so ghosting is a term, refers to a candidate who drops out of the hiring process with no notice and no communication. Yeah. And dealers I talk to like to blame the generation for this. It's really just not the case. The culprit is speed. Yeah. So 93% of dealers in our survey responded that they have been ghosted in the last few months, by one or more candidates at their store. And the reality is, the reason for ghosting, number one, when you ask candidates, why did you do that? Yeah. It's because someone else moved faster. 67% of job seekers in this market are taking the first offer they receive.
Really? See, now I wouldn't have thought that. That's a startling number to me. I would think that because there's so many offers out there that they're kind of taking a wait and see, and let's see who's got this and let's see who's got that. I know from our standpoint, we're in the media business, obviously, is we've had people that will say, yes, we'll do it. That sounds great. Can you send me a letter of employment or a letter of intent to hire them with all of the numbers spelled out, and then we get ghosted, which tells us they use that letter to get a more attractive offer from somebody else, right?
And yeah, that perhaps your experience, and that certainly happens at the dealership level. But really, what we see is the behavior very closely approximates your car buyer behavior. It's funny, 66, 67% of car buyers buy the car from the dealer that gets back to them first.
Yeah.
66, 67%
Wow.
of job seekers take the job. Now, if the pay meets their criteria,
yeah, sure. If all else is equal,
the first to respond. Furthermore, the expectation of job seekers is that they're interviewing with you within 72 hours of submittal. And so if there's one thing dealers can do to improve their results, they don't have to boil the ocean. They just have to be more responsive.
Yeah.
And the question I've asked here on the show before is, how many cars would you sell if it took you 5 days to respond to an internet lead? The right answer is
right.
0.
That's right.
You sell 0 vehicles.
That's right.
You don't have a hiring problem. You have a response rate issue.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
very, very
with the right
good point.
technology and the right dedication, you can get back quickly. And when you respond more quickly, you win a higher percentage of those hires. You just need to be making the first offer when you believe that person's a good fit. You've got to be first.
So for the sales managers or for the managers that are out there, listen, I'm going to ask on their behalf. I have an interview that comes in and a candidate that comes in. It sits in front of me Monday morning, okay? Now, my team has set up interviews with me from Monday through Thursday, okay? And we have 10 people lined up, and we're hiring 3 different positions, okay? Or maybe 2 different positions or 2 different sales positions. And I had a really good interview with this person on Monday, okay? I was impressed with him. But I don't know what's going to come later that day or in the other 9. And sometimes people say, well, I want to go through them all and then make my decision and then make an offer to 1 or 2 after I've seen them all. Now you're talking about 3-4 days later, maybe even the following week, because you want your time and you're going to run it by maybe some other people or what have you. What is your advice in a situation like that?
Well, I guess that you first have to, every dealership and every market is a little bit different.
Sure.
If you are finding that waiting until the end is producing declined offers or candidates who ghost you, if you're losing good people or people you perceive to be good because you're taking too long, you want to run a week of interview slate, then you have to ask yourself the question, if we're confident that this person, even if they're the first person we talk to, is a good fit, can we get to a point where our confidence leads to an offer regardless of what order it is?
Yeah.
I just think if the problem is that you're losing people 5 days later after you get through them, you go back and turns out the first or second person you interviewed was the one you wanted, they're no longer available. That's not going to work.
Right.
You've got to get to a point where you're ready to make an offer when you feel confident that somebody's the right person.
Right.
That's okay. I'd rather be making offers to the first 3 people that I liked than getting to the end wanting those first 3 people and they're not there.
Right.
So if the experience, if you're sitting here listening and you're going, okay, that sounds pretty familiar, the solution is to ask, what do we need to ask or do in the interview to be ready to make a decision on this individual independent of anyone else we're going to talk to?
Right.
Because a good fit is a good fit.
Yeah, I got you. And then how much do you recommend that if you feel really good, this candidate is checking all the boxes, we've had a 90-minute interview, I've shown him or her around the dealership or what have you, and I really feel good about them. Is at that meeting too soon to extend an offer, or do you wait till the end of the day, the next morning? What's kind of the sweet spot there that works for both parties?
I'll tell you, it's like selling a vehicle. You don't let them out of the store.
Yeah.
You just
you put them in the box. You get them all signed up.
That's exactly right. Here's the hiring version of that. Most dealerships, because of insurance requirements or state licensing requirements or their own requirements, need to run a background check. They might have a license verification or some kind of run they've got to do. Those typically take 48 to 72 hours. So you can put a conditional offer in front of an individual and say, we really think this is a good fit. We're excited to have you join the team. I'd like to make you an offer conditional on the successful completion of a drug and background screen, perhaps an NPR.
Sure.
And when those come back, we'd love to have you join, but here's an offer, and let's talk about that. They can walk out with an offer contingent on those things happening. Meanwhile, you can still run your other interviews, but you lock them down. If you like someone, you can lock them down.
Right. Take them out of the market so they're not going on to the next job, because that's what they'll do. They'll go on to that next appointment thinking, well, right now I don't have a job offer in my hand and I've got to get one. And to your point, you're going to miss them because somebody's going to do that, right? They're going to close them down. Yeah.
That's correct.
Yeah.
They will absolutely do that. They're interviewing on average, half the job seeker market tells us they're looking at 15 different opportunities when they're looking.
15,
so you've got to be better and faster than 15 other employers. You just have to be first with the offer.
Yeah, no
be
question.
First with the offer, contingent on the successful completion of whatever verification processes you have to run.
Sure. Okay, in our next conversation, because time has not allowed me to continue, but I want to talk about what kind of an offer. What should there be salary? Should there be commission only? Should it be for a set period of time? We want to talk about the benefits that today's candidates got to hear from that car dealer if they're going to go to work for them, and if they're going to be, worth hiring. As obviously there's people out there that'll go to work for anybody because they don't have a lot to offer, but to get that really top shelf person in there, that person that can one day manage your showroom, manage your service center, or in fact manage the whole dealership. Because we all know they come out of the service center or the showroom. Nobody comes walking into the dealership business unless they're a child of a dealer and they go, okay, you're the general manager. They all work their way up for the most part. I know I'm painting with a broad brush, but I do want to talk to you about that in our next meeting, okay? So Adam Robinson, the CEO and co-founder of Hireology, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you all of you for watching today here at Inside Automotive, exclusively on CBT News. We're now streaming on Roku and Apple TV, so we are now in 70 million households nationwide. Just check us out on any one of those streaming services. So Adam, thanks so much. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Jim.
Thanks.
It's good to be here.
Thanks for watching Inside Automotive with Jim Fitzpatrick.